Today's daily recap is for BTG, Beyond the Gates, Friday, April the 18th. And now they said it today. My throat's still really messing up, y'all. It's going to be short because coughing. Okay, Doug, last name is McBride. Dr. Doug McBride. I didn't know it yesterday. Um, has a scene of Danny in her house alone. And she looks up and she goes, "Look, it's 5 o'clock somewhere." She rushes over to her liquor cabinet, but guess what? Uh, ex Dixie walks in, drops by, and she has a phenomenal idea. The idea is for them to open up a modeling agency, which is what I was saying. And she was telling Danny, because remember, she was Danny's mentor teaching her the ropes. And so she says, Danny, with our knowledge and our skill set, we are going to be on top. And Danny's like, She's looking, she goes, we have what it takes. We have the know how. We have connections. She goes, you more than me. You've got connections. And from managing Chelsea. So Danny's like, She goes, it'll be Curtis and Dupree, the Curtis and Dupree Modeling Agency. So by the end of the conversation, Danny's like, first of all, the one major objection I have, it's going to be Dupree Curtis Modeling Agency. I have to have top billing. So her friend says, well, I was just for alphabetically for, the aesthetics. She goes, nope, Dupree Curtis if I do it. She's like, look, I don't care what we call it because it'll be a hit. Apparently, and I forget the job that her friend is doing. It's not she doesn't own her own company. She's working for somebody lower level at that. So this would give her put her back on top because apparently, she was a top model with Danny too, as well when Danny was coming up decades ago. So anyway, we have Kat talking to um, Chelsea, telling her that Danny needs to be the marketing director in their company. And Chelsea's like, oh no, uh. I had her telling me what to do as my mom all my life. I had her then telling me what to do as young adult and an adult. I'm tired of my mother telling me what to do. I'm ready to branch out on my. She goes, I didn't do this branching out on my own only to now have my mom involved telling me what to do all over again. So no, no. Yes, it sounds like a good idea. Yes, my mother has connections, but it's just too hard on me. So of course, Kat kept talking. She goes, Chelsea, I need you to put your business hand hat on. With us having Samantha a newbie launching the youth line, with us being a newbie company, we need somebody that already has connections, and that is your mother. And she finally told her, she says, look, your mother would not be telling you what to do, Chelsea. Your mother would be working for us, doing what we need her to do. She goes, now, how wouldn't that be karma? Wouldn't it feel great telling your mother what to do? And so Chelsea says, that would be something, but I don't know because she says, I know my mother. My mother will take over. It is just in her nature. So Chelsea says, I know it's in her nature. That's also part of what gets things done with her, right? But we will be able to set boundaries and have that work in our favor. So Chelsea said, I don't know, Kat, I'll think about it. I'll just tell you, I will think about it. That's all I'm going to commit to. So Naomi was visiting Anita, and Anita was, nostalgic, talking about an old photo. We had to hear some old stories again. Oh my God. Boring. Goodness, I fast forwarded everything. But she told her grandmother about, you know, handing the case over to a friend of hers, and she told her reasonings. And her grandmother's like, uh, Naomi, we're behind you 100% either way. Now we know inside Anita was jumping up and down because remember her and Vernon was like, oh, this can't happen. Ooh, we can't have Bill pissed off. Yeah, well, that settles that, doesn't it? So anyway, she brought up Danny. Naomi did, and she was telling her grandmother that she just needs to know how much we love her and are behind her. We need to really celebrate her. She's had one blow after another, and I want to do something special for my mom. And Anita says, well, that sounds great. When do you want to do it? And she said, tonight at Uptown. And Anita said, well, all right then, let's do it. She goes, and grandma, she goes, you call everybody because not one person's going to say no to Anita Dupree. Not one. She goes, and then Anita says, and you handle getting your mother there. She says, okay. So she ends up going to Danny and telling Danny that grandma was, being very nostalgic, a little down, reminiscing about her career. And she says, I want to do something special, mom, for grandma, and I need your help. And Danny's like, you said she's feeling down. Well, okay, what do you have in mind? And she goes, well, look. And I guess she told her, we're going to go to the house and we're going to, pretend. And they did. They went to the house. They pretend like they were trying to remember some old dance step that the grandmother used to do with her group, right? And Anita walks in and says, what are you two doing? And they both giggle. And they said, we were just having some fun. We were just, having fun, playing around. We're getting ready to go to Uptown. And so Danny says, you know what, Mom? Why don't you come with us? And Anita says, well, okay, I will. Because look, I'm certainly dressed for it. She was dressed to go out, right? So, um, they're gonna go, and then Danny, and then Anita and Naomi looked at each other, and Anita weak, like, yeah, you got her. Yeah. So they're gonna have a little surprise impromptu get together for Danny, which is gonna pick up her spirits, and I'm cool with that. Now, Joey is on Randy's behind to get Doug back to the tables because he needs him there, losing. And so Randy says, look, he's been working back to back doing surgeries so that he could pay you what you owe. Heart surgeons make good money. And Joey said, I don't want him paying me what I owe, what he owes me. I want him completely indebted to me. And so Randy says, but I still can't understand why. And he said, he says, because Dougie has something I want. And he says, okay, but what could you possibly want? He's a heart surgeon. His wife. And Randy looked at him and said, wait, what? I want his wife. Vanessa already told me that her uh realtor agency, they she rakes, they clear multiple millions a month, with the property that they sell. That's useful for me because I'm going to use her business to wash my money. And he says, wait, Doug would never agree to that, Joey. He goes, Doug is not going to have any choice. And he says, and I'm going to also tell you, Vanessa, she won't go for that at all. And so Joey said, that's where Doug comes in. Doug is going to convince his wife that she has to do this. Going to get to the point, I'm going to have control of the books and I'm going to be able to wash as much as I want through her company. And so Randy just looks like, oh my God, Joey is getting ready to do some things. So he told him, you get Doug back to the table tonight. You get him back here. So Doug had, doing surgery. Doug, before he has to go into surgery, Randy calls him. Now, mind you, Doug's doing his own little too big gambling with the nurses. Dollar if you think I can't make that, that kind of stuff. And Shanisa told him, look, she told with Ashley, don't entertain him, don't even take his bet. And so Ashley says, no, I'm not gonna bet $1 if he could throw this, trash paper inside the trash bin that was across the room. And so he goes, okay, not $1. What about a quarter? Surely you could spend a quarter. And she goes, okay, for a quarter. All right. Sure enough, he makes it. So Shanice gives him the quarter for Ashley. She goes, I told you, don't even get into it. She goes, but he's been emptying all my nurses' pockets, right? So anyway, he has to go into a surgery. He comes out, and the Shanice says, Dr. McBride, Ashley, whatever her last name is, she would like to know, can she observe the surgery? And he looked, he goes, why would a nurse want to observe the surgery? And she said, because, she's heard about your reputation and she would just love to see you in action. He said, fine, long as she doesn't get in the way, right? So then it has a scene, they're coming out. Doug is pissed, and Ashley's like, Dr. McBride, you did a brilliant job. You did really, really well from what I could tell. And he looked at her, he goes, thanks, from a newbie nurse. And so he goes, the patient died. And so Shanice comes with the folder. She says, Dr. McBride. She's reading. The patient was high risk for this, that, and the other. The patient wasn't in good health. I mean, everything really was stacked against a successful surgery, which begs to differ to why did he think he should do it. I don't know if she was an emergency surgery or not, right? But I guess, look, if her heart needs repairing, at some point you got to attempt to repair the heart, right? So, anyway, he's sitting there and standing at the nurse's station, and he goes, but I didn't do a successful job. It's important that the patient lives. And so Shani says, yes, it is important. But sometimes, doctor, she goes, you can only do what you could do. And Ashley says, and from what I could see, you did a great job. And he was like, bang, he banged his hand down on the nurse's station. I didn't think he banged it that hard, but ended up being he fractured some bones. They didn't say if it was his hand or his wrist. We couldn't quite tell. Uh, so then he goes and gets it looked at, and then it shows Shanice talking to him after a doctor put a splint on it. And she goes, Dr. So-and-so says, you've got a couple fractures there, but they're clean fractures. So you should be healed in about 6 to 8 weeks, but you can't do any surgeries during this time. And he goes, no surgeries for 6 to 8 weeks? Why not? And I'm thinking, stupid. Got your hand in a splint. How you gonna hold a precisioned scalpel and do the cuts and do the suturing and nurturing and everything else you gotta do? How you gonna do that with your hand like that? Dougie, So she goes, look, this is going to force you to get the much needed rest you need. And so she walks out. And so then he hears, I guess, the door to the room close. So he knew somebody walked in. He thought it was the doctor that, you know, looked at him, examined him. And he goes, so are 6 weeks? Are you, I mean, 6 to 8 weeks? Don't you think that's, and he started talking to the doctor. And all of a sudden Joey says, well, because Joey was pissed at Randy. Randy had called him earlier, trying to entice him back to the table. And Doug is like, absolutely not. I'm not. I told you, I'm done gambling. So Joey was pissed at Randy, saying, you know what? I'm surrounded with incompetence. I want a job done. I got to do it myself. So he's went to the hospital. And Doug looked at him. He goes, Joey, what are you doing here? What are you doing in here? He goes, no surgeries for 8 weeks. Now that's a problem. And Doug is just looking at him. Yeah, Joey's getting ready to turn the screws. See, he's getting ready. His reputation, it's about ready to be now put out there. And you know what? Good, good. Because you'd be at those tables tonight if you could. Or you're thinking now that I can't play, I mean, do surgeries, I'm gonna go have to go to the tables to win it, and you're gonna lose it because they're gonna cheat you out of it. So that's it, everybody. That's it for Beyond the Gates. There were some scenes for next week, interesting scenes. It looks like for some reason Eva was really going to town yelling at Dana slash Leslie slash Sherry slash everybody else, other names she uses. So it's looking like it's going to be a spicy week next week. I'll be back Monday for another daily recap for Beyond the Gates.